The California portion of the Mets season comes to a close tonight, so it's time to put away the surfboards, get everybody off the rides, and get down to business. The Mets try to impress the Academy tonight here in Los Angeles, as Chavez Ravine is the setting for the final game of this three-game series. So let's everybody come inside Dodgers Stadium and watch the Mets and the Dodgers right here on SNY. Hi again, everyone. I'm Howie Rose, sitting in for the recuperating Gary Cohen, along with Ron Darling. Final game of the first part of a long road trip. Mets and Dodgers split the first two, and the Mets looking to make a little statement about this trip with a win tonight, perhaps.
They really do. They have to win this series, really set the tone for this trip. Last year, 11 games under 500. They know if they're going to have a championship season, they have to play better than that.
Now, they'll be challenged a little bit physically tonight because they are somewhat banged up, although not as bad as it looked as though they might have been last night.
You know, I saw Cliff Floyd before the game. He was walking gingerly, but he said he wants to try to start tomorrow. I think it'll be more like 2 or 3 days, but it's good to know that it's not more severe.
Yeah, and Jose Reyes will not play tonight either because he has a sore right wrist. That's coming along. Carlos Beltran, who got banged up as well, will be in the starting lineup for the Mets tonight, and they will have the veteran left-hander Tom Glavine, who has volunteered to take the ball on 3 days rest.
Well, he is a gamer. He likes to take that ball 24 times in his great career. He's taken on 3 days rest, and Tom Glavine only threw 85 pitches in his last start. That should bode well for him tonight, and also he's going to have a day off, an extra day, sorry, before his next start. That'll help him, so it's good to have Glavine out there, another race to try to stop this little dip.
Couple of left-handers to do the pitching tonight. Glavine for the Mets, and Odalis Perez, who has struggled for the Dodgers, will return from the bullpen. We can't leave Dodger Stadium without a visit next door with perhaps the greatest of them all, Vin Scully. That's next. We're getting set for the final game of this series between the Mets and the Dodgers here at Dodger Stadium in L.A. Mets will head to Phoenix, and 4 games with the Diamondbacks once this game is over with. Consider that when Vin Scully called his first game for the Brooklyn Dodgers, Harry Truman was the president of the United States. And through all those presidents and everything that's gone on over the ensuing nearly 6 decades, Vin Scully is still as good as it gets behind a baseball microphone. Chris Cotter caught up with him just moments ago.
When you began with the Brooklyn Dodgers, after Fordham, you worked with Red Barber. What do you carry with you today that you learned from him?
Well, number one, work habits. Red was not a casual person in any way, shape, or form. And Red demanded that you prepare as much as he did. And in my case, maybe even more so. Red had a strong paternal feeling towards me, and he cared. He really wanted me to succeed, and for that I will always be indebted to him.
Being a New York native, how disappointed were you personally when O'Malley moved the team out here to L.A. outside of Brooklyn?
Well, I was suffering some bittersweet emotions. After all, my family, all my friends, everybody I knew in this world was back in New York, but I had a job. I mean, they could easily have said, we're leaving, nice being with you. And instead, they said, we're leaving, we'd like you to go with us. So it was bittersweet.
Vin, do you have any special relationships with players, Dodgers of the past, or players that maybe that stick out in your mind as you know, characters and players that were fun to work with?
Well, a lot of them were a joy, especially the original team when I came, which meant Gil Hodges, Jackie Robinson, Pee Wee Reese, Billy Cox, Roy Campanella, Duke Snyder, Carl Furillo, and the pitching staff of Rowe and Erskine and Newcomb. All of those fellows were terrific to this young kid off the streets of New York. Probably, and again, I was younger and more emotional, I think, when Johnny Padres beat the Yankees in Yankee Stadium for the only World's Championship won by the borough of Brooklyn. I think that was probably the greatest emotional moment. Later on, I think an emotional high would have been Kirk Gibson's home run against Oakland, the sweep of the Yankees in '63, the fact that a 7th place team in '58 wound up winning everything in '59 to represent the city of Los Angeles. That was rather remarkable. And there have been so many individual performances. I mean, I mentioned Aaron earlier, Sandy Koufax with his perfect game. How about lucky enough to do Don Larson's perfect game in the World Series? It can't get any better than that. Dennis Martinez' perfect game. I think I've done 25 no-hitters, something like that. So the big thing is it's been a sensational ride, and all I can do is give thanks.
Anyone who's ever watched or listened to Vin Scully gives thanks, and perhaps for this as well, that he has signed a 3-year extension that will keep him in the Dodger broadcast booth through the 2008 season. And here's hoping there's even more than that afterwards. First pitch from Dodger Stadium next. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by ChevyOffers.com, the presenting sponsor of Baseball Night in New York. Rico, move your ideas forward with Rico dependability. By Honda, see your Honda dealer and discover the great values now being offered. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And for Odalis Perez, a big start for his head as well as for the Dodgers in the standings. He has really struggled both as a starter and even out of the bullpen, where he was banished after making his last start on the 2nd of May. That was in Arizona, and he gave up 7 runs in 4 1/3 innings. So here's the lineup he'll face tonight, Ron, brought to you by Chevy.
Well, Paul Lo Duca doing the catching. .293 career average, has had that big year in 2001 here with 25 home runs. 90 RBIs. Jose Valentin again at second base, and you see Milledge in left field, Chavez in right field, as Milledge is going to get used to playing at left field. Odalis Perez, you talked about 7 runs. 3 out of his 6 starts so far this year, he's given up 7 runs. Last start, 70 pitches, only 1 time was it not connected to.
The defense behind him is brought to you by Ford.
The Ford Dodgers defense. Jose Cruz Jr. getting a start in left field. Matt Kemp in right field, who's been red hot, 4 home runs in his first 10 games with the Dodgers.
So we're set to go, and Perez, who will turn 29 years of age on Sunday, will face Chris Woodward to get it started. And the first pitch of the night to Woody is on the outside corner, 0-1. For Woodward, it's always a homecoming when he plays at Dodger Stadium. He grew up in Glavine, California. And I asked him before the game, well, how far right is that from Dodger Stadium? The 0-1 to Woodward, pounded foul. He said, what time of day? I said, how about 2 in the morning? He said, 20 minutes. I said, how about mid-afternoon? He says, 2 hours. Does that sum it up?
It really does. It's halfway between Los Angeles and Palm Springs. It's on the 10 freeway, and it can just get crazy on that freeway.
Perez with an 0-2, and the check swing. Woodward today left 24 tickets for family and friends, which I guess isn't all that bad. And there was a time, really, when you were playing, especially with the Mets, Ron, when there were a lot of Californians around the Mets, and those tickets were tough to come by, as you see Lo Duca waiting his turn.
You know what's good about those teams, though, is that we'll see the pitch here from Perez to Woodward. Another foul ball by Woody. It used to be at the time, though, when we played, there were so many guys from California that it was a known thing that if you were not from California, your tickets would go to those guys. You know, you would let them have the, and then if you went someplace else, you went to Boston or somewhere else, you would get those tickets, or I would get those tickets being from there.
One of the few Californians the Mets have, Xavier Nady, is not with the ball club now as he recovers from appendicitis. And Perez still ahead 0-2 as Woody's fouled a few off. And the fastball, 1-2. I suppose you could make the case that Perez and Tom Glavine are somewhat similar in that they're left-handers who throw a lot of changeups.
Throw a lot of changeups, try to spot their fastball. Will throw cutters in, side to the right-handers, try to tie him up. One big difference, though, is that Perez does not have the control that Glavine has.
.500 pitcher in his career against the Mets. He's a winning pitcher lifetime overall. He's won 56 and lost 52 in his 9th big league season. And the 1-2 to Woodward, and the fastball fouled back. So Woody's hanging in mostly on foul balls.
Well, Perez, this time in his career, he threw a little harder 4 or 5 years ago, especially in 2002 when he went 15-10 with only a 3 ERA, but does not throw as hard now, so a lot of balls put in play. Got to be on your toes if you're a defensive player behind Perez.
Perez, the former Atlanta Brave. And the breaking ball on the outside corner. So Woodward fouled off change-ups and fastballs, and ultimately it's the curveball that got him.
That's a backdoor curveball by Dallas Perez. Chris Woodward is arguing that that went around the plate, that never caught a part of that plate. I bet you we had that camera like we do at home where you show over the top, that would not have touched the corner.
So that brings up Paul LaDuca. LaDuca just 2 hits in his last 15 at bats, but still a very good .290 batting average. There's the cutter, and LaDuca has to untangle himself.
Yeah, he ties himself in a knot here. Good cutter by Perez.
LaDuca had 1 for 4 in last night's game. Got jammed, and Garciaparra puts it away. There's that cutter again, and you'll break a lot of bats when you've got that cutter working.
Well, it's one of the strengths for Perez. You see late movement, and it comes straight across the plate. Doesn't come down and in like a slider. It just kind of runs up the bat, which it did on LaDuca and broke his bat.
So 2 up, 2 down, and now Beltran, who made a terrific play last night and was shaken but stayed in the game. And the Mets trainers were able to work together a system that allows Beltran comfort as well as mobility. Fastball taken for a strike, 0-1. He's wearing something that they call a Polyman patch. That's P-O-L-Y-M-A-N. It's not very big, it's not cumbersome, and it's designed to control inflammation. He says he feels great today. And he hits that one to shallow center, and Beltran's got a hit. So the patch is working already.
Another cutter by Perez, just runs up the bat, but Beltran just strong enough to place this between Furcal and center fielder Kenny Lofton.
So that'll bring up David Wright, who's batting cleanup. And that's not new at all to David. He's doing it for the 16th time this year. Carlos Delgado simply getting a night off. It wasn't his idea with the left-hander Perez pitching. It was interesting talking to Willie about that, Ron, that, you know, Willie let Delgado try to talk him out of not starting, but Willie kept him out of the lineup anyway. Breaking ball, 0-1.
Well, Carlos Delgado likes to be in there every day. He really is a workhorse in that way. Loves to be out there. See David Wright, 327 average. 4th in the league.
Beltran with a short lead at first, and Wright lines it the other way. Picked up by Kemp. Beltran turns second as it comes back in. So David Wright taking Perez to the opposite field. And the Mets with a 2-out rally for Julio Franco.
Well, just beautiful hitting by Wright. See that head on the ball? Pitch is outside. If you try to pull that, that's an out. If you go the other way like he did, just a line drive to right field. Beautiful hitting.
He's become very tough to pitch, hasn't he?
Really has. Unless you can, if you get ahead of him and if you can consistently pound him inside, you got a chance. How many pitchers can do that in baseball? Not many.
Well, now Franco, that 303 is fairly impressive, particularly in light of the fact that it's almost all been as a pinch hitter. For Franco, it's only his 3rd start of the year, and he's just 2 for 10 against left-handers. He's not had a lot of at-bats against that side. And he punches that one foul. So 0-1 to Julio.
We know Howie, Dallas Perez is going to give up a lot of hits now, including this game, 39 1/3 innings, 56 hits. So he will give up a lot of hits.
Jose Valentin waiting on deck. That's trying to make some 2-out magic here in the 1st inning. And Perez working very deliberately, getting the sign from Russell Martin. The runners go. The pitch taken outside, and no throw from Martin. A double steal. Beltran to 3rd and Wright to 2nd. So both Beltran and Wright have their 9th stolen bases of the year.
Well, you'll see Beltran and David Wright do this 4 or 5 times during the year. Now, of course, Beltran with 2 outs has to be safe, but it's a good play now because now you have 2 in scoring position for Furcal.
Grady Little seeing this inning get more complicated than it looked like it would early on. And a broken bat up the middle. In to score is Beltran. Here comes Wright and Julio Franco. Well, it cost him a bat, but he'll take the 2 RBIs, and the Mets have a 2-0 lead.
Well, this is another pretty good pitch by Dallas Perez. Catches some of the plays, but Franco is so strong that he's able to hit that up the middle. Beltran and David Wright after the double steal. Now 2 runs for the Mets.
So Beltran and Wright cross home plate, and the Mets off to a good start. And Julio Franco, in a rare start, delivers. So here's Valentin. Breaking ball on the outside corner. Well, a couple of things about the stolen base. Number one, you don't look for it from Julio Franco, but the double steal against Perez is instructive. 15 straight steals now against Odalis Perez. And the fastball 1-1, 0-2.
The series so far, Howie, has been a race in the first inning to see who can get on top. Dodgers doing it yesterday on Garcia Parra's 2-run home run. Mets countering tonight.
Perez has to be very frustrated. He's broken 2 bats facing the last 3 hitters, each of whom have delivered hits. Outfield straight up against Valentin. And that's ripped to left center. Franco on his way to third, and this one goes to the wall. Franco rounds third on his way to the plate. Furcal with a relay throw, safe at the plate, and down to third goes Valentin. 3-0 New York, all after 2 were out. That'll be a double for Valentin. He gets third on the throw.
Well, good hitting right here by Jose Valentin. That cutter stayed out over the plate, and once Kenny Lofton couldn't cut it off, we watch Julio Franco cut the bases like the veteran he is and turning it up a notch. And he did a great thing here. He didn't do any crazy slides. He went straight in quickly. That way he could get his foot in before the tag from Russ Martin. If he'd have tried to slide away, he would have been out. But what he did, real quickly in there. Get that foot in there. There you do. Great job by Franco.
Furcal still has a terrific arm, although the catcher Martin had to reach just to the first base side a bit, and by leaning that way, that cost him a chance at Franco at the plate. So 3 runs in, and Milledge way out in front. Lastings 0 for 3 last night, but he had a terrific first at-bat run, which produced a sacrifice fly.
I believe it was a 10 or 11 pitch at bat, fouling off some nasty pitches. He even hit a nasty pitch out to center field.
And the 0-1 lined into right field. So Milledge keeps it going as Valentin scores the ball all the way to the wall, and Milledge is going to try for third. Here's the relay throw. Triple Lastings Milledge. 4-0 New York. And Perez stumped for an answer.
Well, twice this inning, the Mets are going the other way. David Wright in here, Lastings Milledge. This is one of his strengths, is his ability to go the other way. Just drove that ball over the head of the second baseman, Ron Martinez. And watching him go around second, those strides became longer and quicker, allowing him to get in there for a triple.
And again, the excitable Milledge with a little fist pump as he got in.
Nothing wrong with that. Nice hitting and great hustle.
So 4-0, the first major league triple for Milledge, and they're still trying to cool the jets of Franco on the Mets bench. Get a little extra rub when you go all the way around the bases at the age of 47. The far younger Perez dealing with more immediate problems here in the first inning, because he got the first 2 hitters, broke a couple of bats with the ensuing batters that he faced, but nothing's worked for him. The Mets now with 5 straight hits. 4 runs in, and with Milledge at third, here's Chavez. 0-1 to Indy. Well, Chavez getting the rare start against the left-hander. Willie Randolph likes what he's seen early in the first and third games of the series. Chavez rolls over. And Martinez throws him out, but 8 Mets bat in the top of the first inning. And half of them cross home plate. So the crowd's not happy. And Tom Glavine's glad to put some runs in his pocket. Pitching on 3 days rest, Tom Glavine delighted to have 4 runs before he even faces a hitter. And here is that Dodger lineup, Ron, brought to you by Rico.
Well, 348 average versus left-handed pitching for Furcal this year, but a lot of new names in there. Matt Kemp, 4 home runs in 10 games. Joel Guzman, 6'6" tall, 240-pound third baseman who can just hit the ball through the moon. Russell Martin, the young backstop. Tommy Glavine so far this year did not get a lot of run support early, has gotten some better as of late, but he has been so consistent. 11 out of his 12 starts, 3 earned runs or less.
And the cutter on the inside corner to get Rafael Furcal started. Furcal is 8 for 34 in his career against Glavine. And he's been a much better hitter so far from this right side, where he's batting .348. 1-1 to Furcal. Furcal, the former Atlanta Brave, right now playing his natural position, shortstop, although it's going to be interesting to see what happens here when Cesar Torres comes back. That's hit well to left field. Milledge at the wall, and it's gone. The third pitch from Tom Glavine is driven out of the park by Rafael Furcal. And the Dodgers get one back immediately. The Met lead now 4-1. The 8th home run this year allowed by Glavine. And for Furcal, his 3rd home run of the year.
Kind of an interesting swing out on his front foot, but he caught that on the good part of the bat. This ball seemed to carry over the head of Milledge. Milledge showing you some of that athletic ability, but too deep for him to get.
So the Dodgers get one back immediately. And now it's Lofton. And he takes the fastball on the outside corner. That's Furcal's first of 3 home runs this year that have been hit from the right side. And Lofton takes the changeup inside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Kenny's hit in 4 straight with 8 for his last 18, but he's never had a hit in 8 trips against Glavine. 2-1. Now, would we see anything early if Glavine were having difficulty specifically because of the short rest? What would you notice?
Well, I think what you'd notice is Lofton hits his comebacker to Glavine for the first out in this inning, first inning. I think that one of the things you'd notice is that he and the Duca work so well together. The Duca sits on one part of the plate, and it's almost like they play catch. If he wasn't hitting those spots, that'd be one thing. Second would be body language. If you saw him walking around a lot, kind of, shaking his arm out or doing those things that it's unnatural for Tommy Glavine to do, that would be something to look at. And then third, if his pitches are up in the strike zone. I think that's the key for Tommy. When he is at his best, you don't see many pitches above the knees.
Now, one of those 4 starts on short rest was a late season tune-up. 1-0 to Nomar Garciaparra. That was back in 2002. Has he ever loved being home here in LA? And the fastball in a good spot. Here's his Coors Light cold blast from a night ago. That gave the Dodgers a first inning 2-0 lead. It's on 2-1 to Garciaparra, who's on a 10-game hitting streak with 15 for his last 42. That's ripped, but foul.
You know how you're talking about Nomar coming back home to Southern California, getting off this great start. Doesn't always work that way. Strawberry came here and it didn't work out. Eric Davis had some decent years here, but certainly not like the years he had in Cincinnati. So it doesn't always work when you come home to play.
Well, Lee Mazzilli still talks about how tough it can be to play at home. That is going to fall in for a base hit for Nomar. Milledge gets to it quickly, and that'll keep Garciaparra at first. And the Dodgers, with a 1-out single, will bring Matt Kemp to the plate. And the Mets defense brought to you by Geico.
Well, David Wright, you can see the most innings played in Major League Baseball the last 2 seasons. Milledge in left field, we talked about. Chavez in right field for the Mets.
David's one of the few that you look at on that defensive chart that would make you think it's anything other than a spring training game. Garciaparra's hit gives him an 11-game hitting streak. But a lot of guys who normally don't start in the lineup tonight. And ball 1 to Kemp. And what a start he has had to his major league career. Went from Double-A to the majors on the 28th of May in Washington. Hit 3 homers in his first 7 days. And after a home run last night, that's now 4 and 11. Right with a flip for 1. Valentine the turn. Double play. Nicely executed. Right to Valentine DeFranco, and that takes care of the Dodgers in the first. Now the Mets turn their 43rd double play of the year. And as we head to the second, it's 4-1 New York. We head to the second inning in L.A. with the Mets leading the Dodgers 4-1, and Tom Glavine will face Odalis Perez right down the middle for a strike. And we're very happy to have Mets pitching coach Rick Peterson join us now. Rick, you've got Glavine going on 3 days rest tonight. Is that a very big deal at this point?
Not really. He came into his last start on 7 days rest because we had the rain out, and he's going to pick up an extra day on this next start. So it's not a big deal at all. We kept him to 85 pitches last time, so he's fresh. He got loose real quick in the bullpen today. And Tommy's done this many times, and he knows how to manage that. So it's a non-issue, really.
Hey, Rick, let me ask you. I know it's not a problem for Tommy because he's such a pro, but you might have a young pitcher in this situation where he gets 4 runs, and sometimes he goes out there and forgets about his game plan and just throws fastballs down the middle, just trying to get through the innings quickly. What would you do to say to a pitcher like that?
Well, we never do that. You know, we make sure Paulie does a great job of keeping guys on task and stay on our game plan regardless of the score. And that's even with a huge lead, you know. So, you know, it's really a non-issue in this pitching system. You know, Paulie's been taken to this tremendously. Castro's been great about it, Ramon, and our pitchers understand that we have a game plan, and we're sticking to this game plan regardless, because how you pitch a hitter is irregardless of what the score is.
And Glavine draws a leadoff walk here in the second inning.
Well, they got to pitch around him. You know, they look at that batting average on the scoreboard, and you know, you got to respect that.
333 and holding as Glavine leads off with a walk, and Chris Woodward will come up. You know, Rick, we've heard relief pitchers who throw changeups for a living talk about how they like to pitch often because it tires the arm and they feel it gives them better action on the changeup. Does it matter for a starting pitcher pitching on 1 day's less rest? Will it have a similar effect?
No, I don't think so at all. You know, the preparation is very similar. Tommy has a bullpen and then a day off and pitches. If he has 4 days rest, he has 2 bullpens and a day off and pitches. You know, these guys are creatures of habit, and it's not really so much being tired. It's just having a feel for what they're doing, and it's consistent that they stay on the mound so they keep that feel.
You know, Rick, I know you guys have very intelligent meetings about the opposition, but this Dodger club would be one that presents some difficulties because they have all these young players.
Well, you're exactly right. There's not a whole lot of information, but we had a lot of great film that we've been able to study for these guys. And this is a great offensive ball club. I mean, these are not only good young players, but they're good young hitters.
So the base hit by Woodward gives the Mets a good start here in the second with runners at first and second, no out. Amidst a growingly impatient not only fan base, but obviously Dodger pitching coach Rick Honeycutt, who's going to get somebody up in the bullpen. And Rick, you talk about watching video, and we see guys do it all the time, hitters and pitchers. Who is the student, if you will, who spends the most time analyzing tape?
Well, you know, Tommy does. In the last couple of years, Tommy really studies a lot of tape himself as a starting pitcher. And a lot of guys don't like to have a lot of information, and you know, but it is vital if you can to at least see how hitters may change their approach. Guys move around in their stances in the batter's box. They'll float sometimes. Sometimes, you know, you come in a series later and they may open up their stance a little bit because of what they've been going through. And advanced scouting reports are just absolutely critical. You may have a guy who's got a bad hand, and so he's not maybe handling the ball in on him like he normally would, and so you can maybe pitch him a little bit differently than what you traditionally would.
That's now with runners at the corners, 1 out, and Beltran coming up. And Rick, before we let you go, I know that Glavine has made such a noticeable transformation over the last year and change. Have you used him as an example to some of the other pitchers who may have been somewhat stubborn in adopting a principle that you were trying to preach?
Well, absolutely. It's not so much something I'm trying to preach. It's what it is really taking guys' strength and try to make their strength even stronger. And I think as you see, as guys stay in the league longer and longer, you're going to see more and more situations where, like you take Roger Clemens at the back end of his career right now. He's a totally different pitcher than what he was in the front end of his career. In the front end of his career, he's a four-seam fastball, overhand curveball, traditional slider, and a traditional straight changeup. And now he's a fastball cutter split guy. And, so it's the evolution of making change. And I think one of the things we talked about with Tommy as he made this evolution and transformation himself was, the golf game. And we've talked a lot about that. Tommy plays a lot of golf. And one of the things we talked about was that, Tiger Woods won the Masters by 12 strokes. And after he did, he realized that he needs a new swing. That's I don't know why, I'm not sure, but he had the insight to realize that you always have to make change and stay ahead of the curve.
So are you responsible for his increased offensive output this year too? Is it a package deal?
I think Tommy, he's such a consummate pro. I mean, he's the all-time leader in sacrifice bunts for active players, and he's just such a special pro that he's just a joy to have on the club.
Well, we appreciate you joining us, Rick. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, that's Mets pitching coach Rick Peterson. A frustrated Odalis Perez leaves the mound, with the Mets having tacked on another one here in the second. That is a local celebrity here in Los Angeles. Many of you might not know Stu Nahan, who has been a Los Angeles sportscaster for a long time. And in another life, he was known as the Meathead. Rob Reiner, now, of course, a renowned director and obviously a Dodger fan. 5-1 New York. Joel Guzman takes ball one from Glavine. And this guy was hitting some shots the last couple of days in batting practice.
I saw him yesterday almost hit one over the left field pavilion. I mean, usually here, if you go maybe into the bleachers 5 rows, maybe 6 rows, that's a huge bomb here. He literally almost did a Willie Stargell, Willie being one of the only players to hit it over the pavilion.
And the curveball high. 2 balls and 1 strike to Guzman. They brought him up from AAA Las Vegas on the 1st of June when Jeff Kent went on the disabled list. Kent, one of several Dodgers who were banged up and unavailable. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Kent is out with a sprained wrist.
Well, great pitch, 2-1. I don't think these big free swinging rookies are going to see a lot of fastballs when they're ahead in the count.
Here's the 2-2. Got jammed a bit there. Franco with enough room to make the play. So Guzman fouls out. And now it'll be Jose Cruz.
Beautiful sequence of pitches. 2-1, changeup away, fastball inside for the pop-up from Guzman. As you see, Jose Cruz Jr., who's had some success against Tommy Glavine and is batting .375 this year so far against left-handed hitters, left-handed pitchers.
And a curveball low and inside. So 1-1 to Jose Cruz Jr. Much better hitter so far from the right side, over 150 at-bats overall. And the changeup. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Rick Peterson was saying that their pitchers really stayed to the task. But I was talking to Tommy Glavine. He said it's difficult sometimes when you get a big lead. Sometimes you just want to, it's 2-1, let's just throw one in there, make sure I throw a strike. Let's not walk anybody. But sometimes when you do that, you get out of your game plan. It's hard to go back to it if they cut the lead.
So Glavine ahead of Cruz here, 1-2. And the fastball missed inside. Glavine's 2.59 earned run average is 7th best in the National League. And those 8 wins are tied for the most with Brandon Webb of the Diamondbacks, Jason Marquis of the Cardinals. And now the count full on Cruz, who's playing through some very difficult personal times. We alluded last night to a situation involving his brother, who has not been found since his car was found on fire. And Glavine misses ball 4. Well, Cruz has walked more than any other Dodger, and he adds to that total. First walk issued by Tommy. Jose Cruz's dad,
second baseman, number 18,
former Houston
Ramon
Astros,
Martinez.
St. Louis Cardinal, and it's been a tough time with Jose Cruz Jr.'s brother missing. So one away, and Ramon Martinez, the second baseman. Billy Wagner was raving about Martinez before this season started. They were teammates in Philadelphia the last couple of years.
A lot of times you get a tag, right, Howie, that you're a utility player, not an everyday player. And you see a guy like Martinez, when he gets a chance, just lights it up like he has so far this year.
And the cutter on the inside corner, 0-2. Well, you don't necessarily look at Glavine as the prototype ground ball pitcher, but as long as he's been around, even with guys who have pitched just as long, he is the active leader in double play ground outs induced. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Yeah, it doesn't really have a sinking fastball. Doesn't throw, well, didn't throw inside as much early in his career, but he does get a lot of right-handers out on that front foot on that changeup where they roll it over to the shortstop or third baseman.
That's turned a nice double play to get out of the first inning. And the 1-2 a little bit low.
Well, so far, Rob Drake, the home plate umpire, has not been calling that pitch. That is a pitch that Glavine has been getting all year long. And that is why he's had so many strikeouts, more strikeouts than he usually has at this point in the season.
Slice the other way. Pitchers get a lot of reputation strikes too, don't they?
I think they do. I think after Questek it's less. But, you know, you can want to go into a game. If I was umpiring this game, I'd say, boy, this is great. I'm going to umpire for Tommy Glavine. I know he's going to go after the hitters and throw some strikes, so I'm going to be ready to call some strikes, as opposed to maybe a young pitcher's out there and the umpire is thinking to himself, oh, you know, this guy's all over the place. Look at his walks, this or that. Never going to throw a strike. So I think umpires are human in that way. But going into the game, they know who can throw strikes and who can't.
Glavine's command a little off early on. Cruz leading from first with 1 out. Will he be running on 3-2? Yep. And the pitch hit into left field. That's going to fall in. So Cruz will go first to third. Martinez has a base hit. The Dodgers are in business here in the second with 1 out, runners at the corners.
Grady Little being very aggressive like he has been all series long, sending the runner. Good hitting by Martinez, who's really had a nice series so far for the Dodgers. First and third against Glavine with 1 out here in the second.
So now the catcher, Russell Martin, who's been swinging a good bat the last few days. He's hit in 5 straight games. He's had 7 for his last 18, batting at .280 with 3 homers, 17 runs batted in. He had 2 hits last night. On the inside corner with that fastball, 0-1. Martin getting his first look at Glavine. So in that 5-game hitting streak, a couple of long balls too. Right now it's the ground ball that Glavine wants. Started in, now away, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike.
Well, this is Martin's 28th game, and he has hit into 4 double plays coming into this game, so he is a prime candidate for that.
LaDuca wants it inside, and it's hit weakly. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Well, you see Tommy's career numbers under 500. Not many parks that Tom Glavine's under 500, but you know, this mound has always been a great mound for pitchers, but for hard throwers. It's not always the best for guys who are spot pitchers, throw a lot of changeups.
Just missed, 2-2.
This is one of those mounds that it seems to be have an extreme tilt, and when you throw hard, you feel like you're just on top of this big, tall mountain and just firing down. And it's great if you have a good fastball, especially one of those riding fastballs.
Here's the 2-2, and it's driven into left field. In to score is Cruz. Martinez will stop at second, and the Dodgers now, with 3 consecutive base runners after a first batter foul out, have cut that Met lead to 5-2.
we tend to forget, as you see this fastball inside does not get in, we tend to forget that a lot of these young players that are playing with other teams have watched the Braves. Tommy's with the Mets now, of course, have watched the Braves every year in the playoffs, and they've seen a lot of Tommy Glavine, and they're excited when they go up for their at-bats.
Well, you would figure with the Dodgers down 3 runs here that Perez will simply be up to bunt. He's only 1 for 14 as a hitter this year, so the Mets in very tight at the corners. Way outside. Well, LaDuca got a little bit of a workout there, and the count 1-0 on Perez.
Unlike Carlos Delgado, well, you can see the play by LaDuca, just a beautiful play in the dirt.
And the 1-0. Glavine with a play at third, and he gets it there. Good play by Glavine. David Wright was back at the bag to take the throw. Well, they booed Perez on the mound, and now they're unsatisfied that he couldn't get the runners over. 2 away.
Well, Tom Glavine is a great athlete, fields his position so well. See how he takes his time there? You get a lot of pitchers that one thing they do is they rush his throw. He made sure he made a nice, accurate, quick throw. Had plenty of time. He knew the kind of time that he had. It's just a fine play.
So with 2 out, Rafael Furcal, who hit a home run leading off the bottom of the 1st inning. That's on the outside corner. A fastball for strike 1.
Going back to the game a few games ago, Pedro Feliciano made a bad throw to second base because he kind of rushed it. It's one of the keys if you're pitching. Get yourself in gear, get yourself, your body underneath yourself so you can make that good throw.
And quickly it's 0-2. You know, yesterday was D-Day. Battle of Normandy in 1944, still celebrated. And tonight's game, we're proud to say, is being televised around the world on the Armed Forces Network. We thank all of those serving our country abroad. Here's the 0-2. And that's given a good ride to left center field, and this game is tied up. Rafael Furcal with his 2nd home run of the game. Five to 5 in the 2nd inning.
Well, again, just another ball that did not get inside. Saw LaDuca sitting inside. Ball stayed out over the middle of the plate. Long home run there by Rafael Furcal.
So the 4-run lead is gone. We're all even. And Glavine misses with a cutter again.
See the reaction from Glavine. He knows right away. You didn't have to watch that.
1-1. Well, Furcal's a guy who's always had some pop. But now Glavine has given up 9 home runs this year in 82 innings. And there's nothing wrong with that total, which makes what's happened tonight even more perplexing. So the question then becomes, you know, Rick Peterson downplayed the 3 days rest angle, but is anything we're seeing here perhaps related to the fact that he's on short rest?
I don't think so. I think just watching him, he's just missing his spots. So just like Pedro Martinez last night, physically, I don't think there was anything wrong with Pedro last night. He's just missing his spots. Tommy's doing the same, and we're seeing that this Los Angeles Dodgers club is a fine offensive club. You cannot get away with those pitches.
We've talked about it this week. They lead the league in runs scored. 2-2 now on Lofton. Dodgers are 1st in the league in average, 1st in runs, 1st in walks. They generally don't hit for a lot of power. Furcal, a somewhat of an aberration tonight. Full count now. Dodgers 11th in the league in home runs, and well, Glavine continues to miss his spots. Even in the 1st inning, you could see the command wasn't quite where it usually is for Glavine. That's becoming even more of an issue. So here's the payoff pitch. And Lofton wastes it away.
I think if you're a veteran pitcher, though, Howie, I think you have to say to yourself, okay, boy, what a terrible start. I gave it right back, but it's 0-0 again. Let's start over. Let's try to pitch, get out of this inning, start over in the third.
And the payoff pitch fouled off. Well, we've talked at length over these 3 games about everybody loving the mound here at Dodger Stadium. Maybe they should measure it. Maybe it shrunk.
Yeah.
Now look at that ratio there. That's not Glavine at all. That many balls to strikes. But he got him. So Lofton waves at the changeup, but the Dodgers put up a 4 spot of their own in the 2nd inning. So all even as we head to the 3rd. Well, he's trying to figure out exactly what's gone on, as Glavine has allowed 5 runs through the first 2 innings, matching what the Mets have produced offensively. So, like you said, Ronnie, just back to the beginning, all even.
Both the offense and the defense.
Julio Franco singled in a run. Yeah, the Mets 4-run first.
Well, 5 runs in 2 innings will make you start chewing on a towel.
Even the towel looks tasty when you're trying to regain control of the game.
That was his Tark moment. Jerry Tarkanian.
Right. 1 ball and no strikes.
I would think that Grady Little will not go far with Odalis Perez because his team has gotten back in this game and he doesn't want them to get behind again.
Well, he had the bullpen up earlier, and it's 2-0 now to Franco. The guy he had throwing was the guy who, at least for now, Perez has replaced in the starting rotation, and that's the former Met, Jay So. It's not gone well for So here in Los Angeles, although he was in good spirits when we saw him before Monday's opener. Beaten with a fastball there at 2-1. Insert comment here about Grady Little's patience with pitchers. Most guys who have played for him say he's a very, very likable manager to play for.
Really just writes up the lineup card, lets you go out there and play. Not too many rules and regulations.
The 2-1 is just off the inside corner. You gave us Buddy Harrelson bunting tips the other night.
Yeah.
When you're going to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Have that bat pointed towards second base. Well, Franco will point it towards second base proper, not the second baseman here. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Everybody's got a different setup position in the batter's box.
Well, you can look at his, everyone knows Gary Sheffield's kind of whipping the bat, but it's where they are when the pitch is on the way to the plate. That's the key.
Those knees angle in. And Franco with a big swing, still a full count. Remember Joe Morgan, the way he twitched his elbow? That was one of the more unique ones.
And he would do that too. You see this foul ball from Franco. He was right on that. He used to do that because he said he wanted to remind himself to keep his elbow up, which was the thing that every batter in those days would do. Kept your elbow up. That was key. You don't do it that much anymore. Well, Franco does.
Again, a payoff pitch. And this time Franco is down on strikes. So that's the 2nd strikeout recorded by Perez.
Well, this is one of the best fastballs he's thrown so far on the outside corner. Good pitch from Perez.
Jose Valentin coming up. Do yourself a favor and take the train to the game. The Long Island Railroad and the Mets are offering LIRR riders a $10 ticket discount for select games throughout the season. Visit Mets.com for details. Here's Valentin. And the fastball, 0-1. Jose contributed an RBI double in the Mets' 4-run first inning. There has been scoring in each half inning played so far. Each team has put up a 4 spot and a singleton. 1-1 to Valentin, who had a rough night defensively last night. A couple of errors. Another ball hit on the ground that he couldn't get to. But it is an unfamiliar position to Jose Valentin. That curveball looked almost as though it slipped out of Perez's hands. It's 2-1. Milledge's uniform dirtied. after a slide into third base on his first big league triple. And the fastball nicks that outside corner. Perez clearly is getting a second chance in this game. He was on the verge of coming out with the Mets batting in the second. Got out of the inning when David Wright hit into a double play. Valentin gets jammed. Sometimes that's the way it works. You get that one big out. In that case, two by Perez, and it settles you down.
Yeah, because if he hadn't, Glavine would have held them scores. He might not have gotten the bat in that second inning.
Saw the 2-2 to Valentin. And the breaking ball shot foul. Willie's been very careful, hasn't he, not to anoint Jose Valentin the everyday second baseman.
Well, I think one of the reasons you do that is that you don't want to lose Kaz Matsui, because if you do that, then you risk having a player like Matsui saying, you know, I'm not going to play anymore. Maybe I'll shut it down. Although I would doubt that would be Matsui, because he doesn't work that way.
Popped up to the left side. And on the left side of the mound, it's the first baseman, Nomar Garciaparra. That shouldn't happen, should it?
Shouldn't happen. That should be Joel Guzman's ball, but he's a former shortstop. Looks like he lost it up in the lights, and the veteran Garciaparra took charge.
And you could actually see Guzman steal a peek back up after the ball landed in Nomar's glove. So here's Milledge. And with Cliff Floyd down for a few days anyway, it looks like Milledge will get some time now in left field. Oh, and 1 to Lastings. So his average is over 300. He has a home run, a couple of doubles, a triple, all in a little over a week of his big league career. Left elbow up pretty close to the plate.
Also, another thing that happens in the big leagues, Lastings Milledge has been wearing those high top spikes, now has the low tops as you get more and more freebies when you get up to the big leagues.
1 and 2. I want to know whatever happened to the Sandies. Why does no one wear a uniform like they wore it as recently as the early 80s? What happened?
I don't know. They just the look now, although Lastings Milledge has more of a older look.
Yeah, that's a 1920s look.
Yeah, but the look now is they just love the long loose pants like Odalis Perez has.
Boy, that one ate up the catcher Russ Martin, who's got to walk it off.
Breaking ball that Martin does a good job of getting down. See, it came back up though and almost hit him on the side of the mask and the shoulder. I think a lot of players, young players, wouldn't even know what sanitary hose are, Howie.
That's just not right. And the 2-2 gets Milledge. The changeup away, and Milledge is gone. Third strikeout for Perez, and for the first time tonight, some team fails to score. Mets scored 4 runs before the Dodgers came to bat. A 4-run inning for the Mets, a 4-run second for the Dodgers, and so we're all even as Nomar Garciaparra leads off the last of the third. He extended his hitting streak to 11 straight games with a first inning single. And Glavine again, all 1, and that's uncharacteristic, but it's been his story tonight.
Yeah, just not working on top, throwing a lot of balls. I think the umpire Rob Drake's not giving him that changeup inside, which is his new pitch.
Goes away there. Valentin throws out Garciaparra, 1 away. So Nomar's 1 for 2. And now the right fielder Matt Kemp. Kemp now with 4 homers in his first 10 major league games. There are 4 other active players who have done that, including, of course, Mike Jacobs, who did it with the Mets last year. Also Jeff Jenkins, Andrew Jones, and a guy in the Mets dugout right now.
Add to that,
Carlos Delgado. that's lined over the head of Valentine, and Kemp's got a base hit. And the Dodgers have their 6th hit off of Tom Glavine. So here's big Joel Guzman, all 6 feet 6 inches up. His foul ball was grabbed by Julio Franco his first time up. Guzman had 7 home runs in 52 games at Vegas. And when you see the way he hits in batting practice, that sounds almost suspicious that he'd hit that few. Ball travels pretty well there too, doesn't it?
Oh, I had to pitch some kind of exhibition game in Vegas, and I'm telling you, it was just one after another. The crack of the bat, up in the air, gone. Give me a new one.
Well, these teams played an exhibition game in Mexico City a year or 2 ago. Double play ball. Glavine, Woodward, and on to first to Franco. So 1-6-3. Glavine gets his 2nd double play ground ball of the night, and we head to the 4th. Nice lead pass like a quarterback. 5-5. We go to the 4th, and how does gas for free sound? Every weekday this summer, the WB11 is giving away $50 worth of gas for free. So log on to WB11.com for details on how you could win free gas and avoid traffic tie-ups by watching CommuterCast. $50 of free gas, that might get you half a tank before the summer's over, the way we're going. Endy Chavez leads off. And the bunt charge. Guzman's throw just in time. Moves pretty well for a big guy going after that bunt.
Really anticipated that bunt very well. Not a bad bunt, but he comes in very aggressive and makes that overhand throw, which is nice. Most guys try to throw this from the side and the ball will curve more. Throws that over the top. See that stay true and straight. Good play by Guzman.
He's natural shortstop, so he's got a shortstop's approach to throwing the ball. A little quicker. Glavine takes a strike. 0-1. So he's sitting on 333 after that 2nd inning walk. And he takes the fastball. It's 0-2. Glavine for his career is a 189 hitter, and he does have 1 home run to his credit. Off the outside corner. Glavine is facing a pitcher with whom he played in Atlanta. That's where Odalis Perez came up. And the 1-2 on the outside corner. So 4 strikeouts for Perez, 2 away. Let's check in with Chris Cotter.
Shortstop.
Guys, I'm up here in the right field stands at Dodger Stadium tonight. It's an unbelievable night and a beautiful view. I can't even describe it from here. It's just gorgeous. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about this stadium as well. A lot of people don't realize that the Dodgers, when they first came to L.A., they played in the L.A. Coliseum. So if you can imagine that, 55 to 65,000 people in the Coliseum watching them play baseball. The dimensions must have been really strange to work out. But they moved into Dodger Stadium here in 1962. And, of course, they had some great seasons. 8 World Series here. But in addition to just baseball, Pope John Paul II held Mass here in 1987. They had the Stones, the Beatles, Kiss, U2, and Dave Matthews, amongst other concerts. The Angels played here from 62 to 65 as we get a base hit from Chris Woodward once again, having a great game. And the 3 tenors, of course, we know them as Domingo, Pavarotti, and Hernandez when his throat is feeling well. And then, of course, the Globetrotters. And Howie, you won't believe this, a ski jumping exhibition right here in Dodger Stadium. They've seen it all.
Snow in L.A. You got a story there already. Yeah, the Beatles also played the Hollywood Bowl here, and no one heard a thing other than the shrieking. So in this tie game, here's LaDuca with 2 out and Woodward at first. Now remember, despite the fact that Perez is a left-hander, the opposition has a lot of success running against him. The Mets pulled a double steal in the 1st inning. So now 15 consecutive steals against Perez. And we'll see about Woodward here. Perez paying him a lot of attention. Mets as a team lead the major leagues in stolen bases. So with 2 out, not a bad idea to try and get Woody down to 2nd here.
That would be a good play off Perez. He does not have a good move to first, and it takes him a long time to get the ball to the plate. That's a bad, deadly combination.
Even for a left-hander. Not going, and LaDuca takes a strike. Of course, LaDuca will do that. Very comfortable two-strike hitter. The outfield is straight away against him. You see the second baseman Martinez shaded just a step towards the bag with a right-hand hitter in the batter's box. What a pretty decent-sized lead there, but he's not going anywhere until now. Lofting up with it. On his way to third, Woodward. The throw way offline. And the Mets have runners at the corners with 2 men out.
Well, that's just a smart play by Woodward as LaDuca lines this hit. But everyone knows that Kenny Lofton does not have the arm he used to anymore. So you need to take advantage of it. Woodward does. So you can see right here he's thinking, should I go? Well, it's Kenny Lofton. He does not have a great arm. Let me take advantage of it.
Teams have meetings before the first game of each series, and that's exactly the kind of stuff they talk about. So you've got to know that as a base runner, and Woodward did. So Beltran in an RBI spot. 0-1. And Carlos is 2 for 2 with a run batted in. Although neither ball was exactly scorched. Did he break his bat both times?
I think he did. 2 bats, 2 hits. Any hitter will do that any time, though.
Keep the lumber companies in business and keep everyone happy. Beltran now 38 runs batted in this year. Here's the 0-1. Off the glove of Perez. Beltran a fast runner. Perez has no play. And the Mets regain the lead. It's 6-5 New York. And that'll get the bullpen going again.
I told you they wouldn't have too much patience for Perez if he got in trouble.
So a base hit for Carlos Beltran, his third. That drives in the go-ahead run, and with that ball having gone hard right off the hand there, they're going to check out Perez. Pretty sneaky move by Grady Little too. It's a free trip. The way Perez has been going.
Well, Jay So was up before, so he should be pretty warm or close, although it doesn't look like he is. Starting pitchers tend to take a little more time when they're moved back to the pen to get loose.
So now it's Wright. David with a single and a run and a double play ground ball. So the Mets leading 6-5. Mets already with 10 hits in this game. 2 out, 4th inning. On the outside corner. So LaDuca, not much speed there, and Beltran good speed at first.
Well, Perez has got to be careful. He keeps throwing that cutter to the right. If he leaves it out over the plate, that's a home run pitch.
The 0-1. Wright had a big swing, but now he's behind in the count, 0-2. Although for him, that's usually where the at-bat's just getting started. Scouting reports were relayed to the players before the first game of the series. If anybody needs a quick reference tool, that is the Cliff Notes edition. You should see the size of the real one. 0-2. Told you the fun for Wright first begins at 0-2.
That's just an amazing stat. Anyone in baseball, that mark is usually below 200. He's above 300 with that 0-2 counts.
And it's only his second full year in the big leagues. And that's driven into left field. Around third, LaDuca. Cruz's throw will come into second base. Getting back safely is Beltran. On at first with an RBI single is David Wright, and the Mets making more 2-out magic. 4 straight hits, 2 runs are in, 7-5 New York. In their 4-run first inning, the first 2 hitters were retired.
Again, this pitch is in on Wright. Another broken batter. At least it got in on him. But when that pitch is up, the big league hitters are able to get that into the outfield. Maniacta, of course, imploring Loduca to turn it on.
So the night's work for Odalis Perez is finally over. Beltran just did manage to get back, but the Mets still with an inning going. 2 runs in. This call to the bullpen is brought to you by Singular Wireless, raising the bar. SNY Wired features Maniacta, the Mets' third base coach, waving Julio Franco around on Valentin's first inning hit.
First baseman.
Come on, Jorge. Come on, Jorge. Go, Jorge. Go hard, Jorge. Go hard, Jorge. You gotta go hard, Jorge. Go hard. When he went like 3/4 past there, I'm like, oh my God, he's not gonna make it.
If Franco could have stopped, he would have said, I am going hard. But it worked out. He scored the run, and now Jay So will come out of the bullpen to face his former team. And it has not been an easy start in Los Angeles for Jay.
Did a fine job last year for the Mets in a starting role. Met fans know, little cutter, fastball, good changeup, little slurve breaking ball.
And with 2 runs in, here's Franco again, and it's fouled off, 0-1. Now, Julio, over the last couple of years, was very valuable in Atlanta as a player who would play as a starter at first base against left-handers. Beltran and Wright aboard here, so RBI possibilities for Franco. But this year, with Delgado an everyday player, it's been doubly tough for Julio to stay sharp, which is what makes what he's done as a pinch hitter all the more remarkable.
Jay So was watching the game from the bullpen because he saw that double steal of Beltran and David Wright, and just trying to keep Beltran from getting another big jump.
How about that, though? He's 8 for 25 as a pinch hitter at the age of 47, when he doesn't get enough playing time to even feel like he's sharp coming off the bench. 0-2.
You know, Howie, that's just got to be the work he does in between, you know, before games, that he takes those workouts not only in the gym serious, but also his batting practice. If you watch him take his batting practice, there's no smile, there's no kidding with people around the batting cage. He just gets in there and starts lining shots over the second baseman's head and moves all the way across the field. It's just fun to watch him take BP.
Jay So ahead of him, 0-2. And a good play on the backhand by Martin.
Well, Russ Martin, I think, Howie, watching him here in this 3-game series, very impressed with not only his defensive work, but also his at-bats.
So he'll be 48 years of age later this summer. But here he's called out on strikes, and the Mets are done in the 4th inning, but not before. 2 more runs on 4 hits, and they did it all with 2 out, nobody on. Mets Kids Clubhouse opens its doors every week, and it's where the kids rule the show. Learn about baseball and all your favorite New York Mets. Mets Kids Clubhouse, Saturdays at noon only on Sportsnet New York. It's been an offensively charged game tonight here at Dodger Stadium. Mets had a 4-0 lead. They're now up again, 7-5, as Glavine throws ball 1 to Jose Cruz Jr. And there again, worth repeating, Ron. Ball 1.
Yeah, he's having real trouble getting ahead of the hitters, and that's not a place that Tommy wants to be, of course.
Driven deep to left, and that ball is gone. Jose Cruz Jr. with his 4th of the year, and the Dodgers get one of those runs right back. And Glavine, who had allowed 7 home runs all season before this game, has now given up 3 tonight. It's 7-6 New York.
No, I wouldn't say that they're sitting on the changeup of Tom Glavine, but I'll tell you, they've done a good job, Furcal and Jose Cruz Jr., of staying back just enough to get the good part of the bat on that ball.
7 hits now for the Dodgers, and no lead for either team seems safe tonight. 0-1.
Looks like it's a 1-0 changeup. See how he's kind of out front? Certainly not as much as Furcal was, but this line drive homer easily clears the fence and left.
And Martinez takes inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Ramon singled his first time up, then was thrown out by Glavine on an unsuccessful bunt attempt by Odalis Perez. 2 balls, 1 strike.
Well, for such a young team, Howie, they really are taking some quality at bats, taking a lot of pitches out of the strike zone from Glavine, not being too overly aggressive.
3-1 now on Martinez. Well, Glavine now has given up as many runs in this game as he has in any one start so far this year. He gave up 6 in a game at San Francisco on the 24th of April over 6 1/3 innings, and nothing else has been even close. Woodward waits on it. 1 away. Glavine has given up no more than 3 runs in any start apart from the one in San Francisco, at least until tonight. So 1 out, and now Russell Martin.
Well, who knows what the next 5 outs are going to bring, but this looks like the kind of game that if Glavine's able to get the Dodgers out with a lead, this would be a 5-inning type effort with the bullpen very well rested.
Yeah, especially those 7th, 8th, and 9th inning guys. On the outside corner, 0-1. Darren Oliver, of course, is the key long guy. Last work in the Giants series over the weekend at Shea. That sliced down the right field line out of play. Oliver worked an inning in the first game of the series on Saturday. It was the first game of a doubleheader. And that's the last we've seen on the mound, or we had anyway, until last night when he worked 1 more. So he's well rested. Just 2 innings in the last 5 days. And the changeup rolled weakly. Valentine throws out Martin, 2 away. And now Jay So will bat for the first time. Jay 2 for 16 with a bat in his hands this year.
Pitcher, Jay So.
A 116 career hitter. And that's looped to right. Chavez got a great jump and makes a terrific catch. Boy, Chavez took that 1-first burst in a hurry, and that enabled him to make the play on So, and the inning's over. But Jose Cruz Jr. goes deep to start the home 4th. So we head to the 5th with the Met lead sliced again to 1 run. 7-6 New York. Well, we're headed to the 5th inning here at Dodger Stadium. The Mets with a 1-run lead, and Jay So is a reminder, as the late Bob Murphy used to say, that baseball is a game of redeeming features, because So was sent to the bullpen after some ineffective starts. But as Odalis Perez struggled tonight and left the game after 3 2/3 innings, Jay So is on the mound and maybe getting another chance to open some Dodger eyes. So Jose Valentine takes a strike from So as we start the 5th inning. It'll be Valentine, Milledge, and Chavez for New York. Valentine doubled in a run in the first inning. And the breaking ball ripped into center. So Valentine has his second hit. And the Mets have a leadoff base runner. And right now we are happy to be joined in the booth by longtime Dodgers manager Tom Lasorda, and it seems like we visit with you every year because Father's Day is coming up, and that means it's the home run challenge.
That's it, and it's the beginning and the ending. We close on Father's Day, but Michael Milken has done a fantastic job in raising funds, and it's all going to research. Every dime that is taken in goes to research, and I said this time and time again, if there is anybody who will find a cure for prostate cancer, it's going to be Michael Milken.
Lastings Milledge, the batter now. And Milledge dribbles one foul. It's 0-2. Now, you've been involved with promoting the research and this home run challenge that baseball has been undertaking for the last 10 years now. Did you come to them and say you wanted in, or did they come to you? How did your association
No, Michael
come
Milken
about?
and I have been friends for a long time, and Michael asked me if I would partake in it, which I was honored to do because it was for such a tremendous cause. And you know, it's a sickness that can happen to anybody, and there are so many people who get it. And what we're trying to do is trying to make sure that people will not get prostate cancer again.
Milledge called out. Jay So found the inside corner.
And you know, the money they collect,
For the Mets, number 10.
Michael puts a lot of money in himself, but anybody can partake. All you have to do is pledge. You can pledge $5 a home run, or $10 a home run, or $50 a home run. Whatever it might be, it's all going to go for research. And one day, we hope that we will not have to be doing this because they'll find a cure for it.
And the Chavez lines into 1 and then 2 outs. A double play, a good play by Ramon Martinez to get it started. Tommy, we need to talk a little bit more about this. Can you hang on for the bottom of the inning?
Sure.
We appreciate it. Tom Lasorda, our guest, halfway through here at Dodger Stadium, 7-6 New York.
With this Chevrolet Baseball Night New York update, I'm Matt Yaloff. Phillies and Diamondbacks today in Arizona. And Jimmy Rollins dialing long distance against Dustin Nippert, a 3-run home run. The Phillies win it by a score of 7-3. They are hot. In the 8th inning of the Braves and Nationals, Darrell Ward, with the bases loaded, shoots it the other way. The Nats beat the Braves. The Braves are not hot. Nats win 5-2. Back to Gary and Ron.
Rafael Furcal with 2 home runs tonight takes a strike. Howie Rose, Ron Darling with you here at Dodger Stadium, along with legendary former Dodgers manager Tom Lasorda, who has been promoting the 10th annual Home Run Challenge for prostate cancer research. And we'll get back to that later in the inning, but as long as Ronnie's here and you're here. Come on, Ronnie, did you ever feel like getting in on one of his group hugs during all those days with the Dodgers?
Well, I tell you, his Dodger teams, you came in here, you better be ready to play. But it was real special, though, even for opposition teams. And you know this, Tommy, this ballpark, there's just something special every time you walk across the white lines here. You feel like it's a special event.
Well, Ron, I have to say this. He was a great pitcher, but more importantly, he's just a great person. He's a gentle man. And, you know, it broke my heart when we beat him in Game 7.
You look devastated.
I felt so sorry.
I know you did. Yeah.
I just saw Dave Stewart here today.
Yeah.
We beat him in the World Series. And he played for me. And I said, Stu, you can't believe how sad I was when we beat you.
Valentine puts away the liner.
But I'm going to tell you something. I managed in 63 playoff games. But I'll tell you, the 7 games that we played against the Mets were the toughest 7 games of any of the 63 that I've managed in.
And probably 2 or 3 of the coldest also, if I remember what those games at Shea Stadium.
Boy, they were cliffhangers, every one of them. Every one of them. If Mike Scioscia doesn't hit the home run off a good one in the 9th inning, we're down 3-1 and our goose is cooked, you know? But he hit a home run, tied the game, and then Gibson hit a home run, I believe, in the 12th inning. He hit it off of Roger McDowell, I believe.
Well, Orel and I started the 3rd game, and you brought Orel back in the 5th game to pitch to that last out. I ended up being a pinch runner on 3rd, so it was very strange. We had started, he was relieving, and I was pinch running.
Right. 2 quick outs. Nomar Garcia Parra will be next, joined by Tommy Lasorda. Took over as manager here in 1977, won 2 pennants immediately. And I will never forget, as a reporter covering the '81 series, waiting outside the Dodger locker room because there were probably 150 people waiting to get in before the game ended. And once all the spikes were heard going down the runway and into the room, about 2 minutes later, you were the last guy into the room, and all you could hear was this voice screaming, "The Fall Classic, the Fall." You have any idea how many times you scream the Fall Classic before you finally get back to the clubhouse?
Well, I think, you know, I was the first guy to come up with that saying, I believe, the Fall Classic. And there's nothing greater than that. And as he will tell you, you know, you go all spring, you play 162 games, and then you play playoffs, and then to reach the Fall Classic, boy, all the hard work and all the drive and all the time that you put into it just is so great.
3-0 to Garciaparra. That look familiar? That's Gibson, right? Gibson's home run. It'll be a 3-0 to Nomar. 3-1. Did Gibson have to talk you into letting him hit? Had you absolutely given up on having any use of him?
Every inning I would run in the training room and he was on the table. I say, "How do you feel, big boy?" And he'd go like that. And I'd go back out. Then in the 9th inning, we're losing 4-3, and so the clubhouse kid, Mitch Poole, calls me and says, "Gibson wants to see you." So I run up the tunnel. He's got his uniform on. He says, "I can hit for you." So I ran right away so he wouldn't change his mind. So I got out there and I changed because we had Socia hitting, Jeff Hamilton, Alfredo Griffin in the pitcher spot. And I told Mike Davis, "You're going to hit for the pitcher." Well, when he said that he could hit, then I got Mike Davis to hit for Alfredo Griffin with 2 outs. He wanted to go in the on-deck circle. I said, "No, I want you in the dugout. I do not want them to know that you're going to hit because they're going to pitch different to Mike Davis because I put Dave Anderson on the on-deck circle." Well, they pitched around Davis.
And a nice play in right field by Chavez to end the inning. Well, you know, we saw what happened. It's considered one of the greatest moments in the history of the Dodgers. Good luck with the cure for prostate cancer. 800-798-CURE. 2857. We'll give that number a few more times during the game.
Good to see you, Ron.
Good to see you, Tommy. Take care.
Take care. Good.
Tommy Lasorda, our guest. 5 innings in the books, and the Mets with a 7-6 lead. Now, perhaps encouraged by Tom Glavine's work in the 5th, issuing just a 2-out walk to Garciaparra. Tom hits for himself here in the 6th with the Mets leading 7-6. Glavine, Woodward, and Loduca to do the hitting for New York against Jay So. And it's 1-1. Jay came on to strike out Franco to end the 4th inning. The top half of it after the Mets had scored 2. Got a double play ball to get out of the 5th. And now he's ahead 1 ball and 2 strikes. I'm going to give you that number again a couple of times before the end of this game about the Prostate Cancer Foundation, baseball's 10th annual home run challenge designed to wipe out prostate cancer. Fans are encouraged to make a pledge for every homer hit between June 7th, that's today, and Father's Day, June 18th. And as Tom said, the pledges can range from anywhere from 50 cents to $10,000 during selected games. The number is 800-798-CURE, C-U-R-E, which is 2857. Glavine fouls it off, and we'll revisit that 1 or 2 more times before this game is over.
Well, the hitters have done their part for capture tonight with the home runs.
You bet. 2 for Furcal, 1 for Cruz. No homers by the Mets yet. And the 2-2 to Glavine. Back to the screen.
You know, Jay So doesn't have any pitches that are really going to blow you away, but he is unusual. Watch his motion. He has a large delay where he kind of just sits on his back foot and stops, keeps closed for a while, watch stop, and then go. Very unusual.
Easy play for Cruz. 1 away. Well, it's time for the Best of Barbados Vacation Getaway. If the Mets hit a home run, 1 grand prize winner will win an all-expense-paid trip to the Almond Beach Village Resort in Barbados. To enter or to see if you are a contestant, visit sny.tv/Barbados today. So back to the top of the order in Woodward, and the breaking ball, 1-0. You know, it's interesting, Ron. You bring up Jay So's delivery, and when you think about it, most of the Asian pitchers who have come to North America over the last decade plus have some sort of unusual delivery, don't they?
They do have unusual deliveries, but one of the things that they mostly do especially the Japanese stars, is that they have a delay at the top of their windup. Is that once they turn, they want to stop and delay, so that way they can change motion. So delay and then go to the plate, and they do that because they think it keeps them better control.
Gets Woodward on the ground ball to short. Quickly 2 men away. And the Hyundai in-game box shows you a lot of offense.
A lot of offense tonight is right. Let's see Chris Woodward, though. That nice, just grounded out, but hit that ball hard also.
Yeah.
Worth the price of admission watching Julio Franco score from first, by the way.
And to listen to Manny Acta, the third base coach, talk about it as part of SNY Wired tonight. Manny Acta's been mic'd up. Manny's arms might have been getting tired that first couple of innings. Third base coaches will take that kind of fatigue every day. 1-0 to Loduca. 2-0.
It's funny how it works in baseball. Your leadoff hitter, Jose Reyes, is not playing. Delgado's has the night off. Floyd is hurt. And you get this kind of offense.
Outside ball 3. Well, in cases like Woodward and Franco, you know, there are starts for guys who don't generally get to start, so they're worth even more to them than some of the everyday players. 3-1 to Loduca. And I think in Woodward's case, Ron, especially important because he did start some games last year at a variety of positions. But this year, up to now, he really hasn't been able to get a whole lot of playing time anywhere.
Willie Randolph has more of a set lineup this year than he did last.
Loduca holds the swing, and that's ball 4. So that'll bring up Beltran, who's had a big night at the plate with 3 for 3. Downtown Los Angeles.
Carlos Beltran.
If you have never been to LA before, you might think that's the centerpiece of this town, but it's almost anything but. It's not like there's a whole lot going on downtown LA, certainly not after hours.
That's right. From 9 to 5 there is, but after that, no.
So Beltran, 3 hits, couple of RBIs, and he gets out in front and rips one a long way foul.
Just have so many different kinds of Los Angeles. You have the beaches from Santa Monica to Manhattan Beach. You have Malibu. And then you come inward and you have Culver City, Westwood, where UCLA is. You have downtown, which is the business section where USC is, the Coliseum.
Off the inside corner. All right, quickly, what's your favorite spot? I'm not talking about a night spot. I'm talking about a town or a city.
Oh, a town or a city. Yeah. Favorite place on the road?
No. Here in the LA area.
Well, I like anything off Sunset is great. They have a lot of restaurants, a lot of places to go. Great place for live music. One of the best places for live music here on the West Coast in the 60s and 70s. So anything off Sunset's fine with me.
Some of them even watch the game here. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Yeah, you don't have to wear too much when you come to a game here at Dodger Stadium. Just such a beautiful night.
Night after night after night. Nick Lachey lookalike.
Good call.
Here's the 2-2 on the inside corner. So Beltran goes down on strikes. Jay So has his 3rd strikeout, and the Mets are done in the 6th. A lot of runs early, but things are tightening up. Certainly tied on the board.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Sterling Mets and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Sterling Mets.
7-6 New York. Joel Guzman takes low outside from Glavine. We start the bottom of the 6th inning. Guzman playing 3rd base tonight, and then Cruz and Martinez. And it's 1-1. So Glavine's fought his way into the 6th inning here, despite having given up 6 runs. fastball missed. 2 balls, 1 strike. Mets are getting the bullpen up right now as we're into the 6th inning. That's Chad Bradford on the left. He's the right-hander, and then Pedro Feliciano, the left-hander. 2-1. That changeup just disappeared.
Pretty interesting right here, Howie. Don't you think that just every out that Tom Glavine gets now is just icing on the cake for the Mets with their well-rested bullpen? If he can just get an out here and out there, maybe get through the 6th, it becomes much easier for Willie Randolph to manage this game.
Carlos Beltran with plenty of time and space. 1 away. Guzman flies to center. And that is the left-hander Hong Chi Kuo.
Left fielder Jose Cruz Jr.
Dodgers now have the 6th spot in their batting order up. Jay So has been good, so you would imagine that Jay will get another inning. And that missed inside. 1 ball, no strikes on Cruz, who took Glavine deep last time. Delgado and Martinez may not be in this one, but to an extent they are into the game. Change up away, and it's 2-0. There's Jose Cruz Jr., son of a former big leaguer. And a lot of kids were drafted yesterday around the country. 2 balls and 1 strike, who hope to make it to the big league someday themselves. Talk about sons of former major leaguers. The Dodgers drafted Don Mattingly's son, Preston Mattingly.
Infielder like his father. Those sure hands of Don Mattingly, I'm sure he passed those along.
And the 2-1 to Cruz. Cuts over the inside corner. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Mets' first pick was a college pitcher from Villanova, a right-hander named Kevin Mulvey. And they say he's got a plus fastball in the low to mid-90s. Well, that's not Kevin. Full count. Although I'll tell you what, you look at some of the birth dates on the kids the Mets drafted. March of 1988.
I have a son that was born in '87.
So he should be ready any year now, right? And Glavine misses inside, ball 4. Second time tonight that Cruz has walked, and that one really irritates Glavine. So the Toyota National League scoreboard shows Washington beating the Braves. That helps the Mets out. The Astros over the Cubs. And the Reds win again. That win ties Cincinnati with St. Louis for the lead in the National League Central. Phillies closing in on the Mets, 3.5 back at the start of play today. Philadelphia won. And that walk will signal the end of the night's work for Tom Glavine. So on 3 days rest, he pitches into the 6th inning. This call to the bullpen is brought to you by Singular Wireless, raising the bar. The 2006 New York Mets official merchandise catalog is now available, offering a great selection of items for every Mets fan. For your copy, call 800-PRO-TEAM. Well, Chad Bradford will relieve Tom Glavine, who knows that he didn't have anywhere near his best command tonight. And I think that word, command, probably sums up as much as anything what Glavine did not have.
Really just the second bad start he's had this year. Chad Bradford in now. The first night on Monday got the save, getting the last 4 outs in the ball game. Of course, a right-handed specialist. Faced 4 right-handers in that 8th and 9th, and they had no chance against Chad Bradford.
Glad you're with us at the midnight hour in New York. Howie Rose, Ron Darling with you from Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. Chris Cotter appears as well. Gary Cohen, get well fast. We know Gary's up. We know he'll stay up no matter how long this one goes.
Well, Gary, they're playing Blitzkrieg Bop here by the Ramones. I know you're a big fan of the Ramones, and they were baseball fans themselves.
And now Chad Bradford on to do the pitching. Will face Ramon Martinez. So Glavine goes 5+, gives up 7 hits. And to this point, 6 runs, all earned. He's responsible for Cruz at first with 1 out. And Bradford delivers a strike, 0-1. Martinez 1 for 2 in this game. Right-handers are hitting .254 against Bradford. Left-handers actually hit him a little bit less. 0-2.
I think Bradford's done a good job in that Monday night game, and then here against Martinez, he throws that first one over the plate, right down the middle, and comes back with that sinker. Martinez had no chance on that one as the bottom dropped out.
It's Chad's 26th appearance of the year. Pitched an inning in a third in the first game and got a save. 1-2. That was in the first game on Monday night when the bullpen had really been tired, particularly the guys at the back end. And as you look at Russell Martin on deck, Willie Randolph had Billy Wagner. In fact, he got him up. Billy warmed up, but Willie liked the matchups for Bradford and the opportunity to rest Wagner, and it worked out. Chad got all 4 batters he faced.
Feliciano did a nice job in that 8th. Gave up a couple of hits to lefties, but did a nice job of striking out Nomar Garcia-Parra.
We're talking about the draft a moment ago, Ron. Here's a guy, Chad Bradford, who obviously does not throw hard. Not drafted. He wasn't drafted. He was signed by the Chicago White Sox. He's a non-drafted free agent. You attracted a little bit more attention, as I recall.
Well, you know, in 1981, when I was going to get drafted, Seattle Mariners had the #1 pick. They called me in. They said, we want to make sure that we agree to a number before we draft you. Their number was not agreeable to me. So I got the reputation, as some players do now, that they're unsignable. So I ended up dropping all the way down to 9th, which was the Texas Rangers pick. But it ended up working out. I signed within a week and was ready to go. But, you know, that's what happens now in the draft all the time. The guys will say, hey, I like this player better, but I don't want to take a chance because he might have a Scott Boras or an agent that I'm not happy with, and sign someone else.
Nice pick by Wright for 1. Valentin dropped that on the transfer, so Cruz is out at second base. And no question that Valentin was getting ready to uncork the relay throw to first. But a nice play on the short hop.
Great play by David Wright. Nice toss to Valentin. He knew he had to get rid of it quickly. It's probably the reason he dropped it. But the nice play was by Wright to make sure that you get the out, too. When you get later in the game, you got to make sure you get 1 out.
So 2 men away, and now Martin. Martin singled in a run in the second inning. Quo, the left-hander, throwing in the bullpen. And pitcher's spot due up next, but Andre Ethier has come out on deck. Ethier, a left-hand batter. And Willie Randolph has Pedro Feliciano throwing in the bullpen. So if it comes down to Ethier here in the 6th inning, probably see Feliciano. There's Pedro. You get through this 6th inning if the Mets can. And then you've got Heilman and Sanchez and Wagner with a couple of days rest. 1-1.
You have to watch yourself in the bullpen here at Dodger Stadium. They have this tin behind you, and there's the echo in there is so loud. So when you're throwing, I'm telling you, when it hits the glove, you feel like you're throwing 150 miles an hour. So you got to make sure you calm down by the time you get out to the mound.
So that's not brick or plywood back there.
No, it's just kind of a tin fence. See that? And it just, I'm telling you, you feel like you throw like Nolan Ryan when you're on that mound.
Nothing wrong with that, is there?
No. Except you guys can't go in there. Feliciano can't go in there and say, hey, I'm just going to blow him away with fastballs, because that's not how he pitches.
This ballpark structurally is just about unchanged from how it opened in 1962. There are a few things. They've changed some seats behind home plate. Remember, they used to have those dugout seats where you would actually see people sitting pretty much at the same level that the guys in the dugout would to watch a game.
They look like they're in a bunker.
Yeah, they got rid of those. Those first 6 or 8 rows are all relatively new. And I believe, Ron, that at some point they moved the field. They moved home plate out a bit.
They did.
Because this used to be a more expansive outfield and a much more difficult hitter's park than it is now.
And you see behind the plate, it used to be if you're on second base, there's a pass ball, you might think of going for 2 bases and scoring.
1-2 pitch, little dribbler. LaDuca plays it, fires, got him. Good play by Paul LaDuca, and that takes care of the Dodgers in the 6th. A walk and 1 left. Glavine now leaves in a position to win. Good job by Chad Bradford.
Matt Yaloff here with a Chevrolet Baseball Night New York update. Orioles and Blue Jays and Chris Benson on the mound. Frank Catalanato at the plate, and hello, that's a 58-foot pitch, and Shea Hillenbrand comes in for the first run of the game. Benson takes the L. Toronto wins it by a score of 5-3. Yankees and Red Sox rained out today, tomorrow. Kurt Schilling, Jarrett Wright, starters for Game 3 of this series, will pitch in Game 4. Back to Howie and Ron.
Jay-So finding out how many warm-up tosses he has left. He knows he's going to get at least another batter, and that might not have been the case. In fact, it wouldn't have been had Martin reached. Oh, let me tell you something. Farmer John's Dodger Dogs, as Vin Scully would say, are still outstanding.
Howie, I'm treating after the game. We're going to have one before we get on that plane down to Arizona. How about that?
Only one?
As many as you want.
That could be trouble. We may have to reach even deeper into our pool of play-by-play guys if that happens.
That's right.
That may be another boiler waiting to go. More than one, but those things are absolutely outstanding. They even fly him into spring training. Farmer John is a franchise now, down at Vero Beach too.
You know, I was listening to some talk radio here, and they were mentioning that they thought that Dodger dogs were overrated, and I just couldn't disagree any more vehemently.
They're different.
Yeah,
you know, you've got to have experienced both ends of the geographical hot dog spectrum. I didn't say Dodger dogs were the best, because a Nathan's hot dog with sauerkraut and mustard and the Nathan's fries, that's as good as it gets. But that's an East Coast thing.
Yes.
You come out here, and as Julio Franco knows, it's Farmer John. And the count 2-1 to David Wright. I showed the bullpens a little while ago. Are they still grabbing hot dogs down in the bullpens too?
Oh, relief pitchers eat more during the game, I'll tell you.
That's not an exaggeration either, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, maybe they've changed now. You know, I've not played in 20 years, but.
Well, David Wright's got a base hit. And the Mets have the leadoff man aboard against Jay-So here in the 7th inning. All right, let's get that duck queued up for the Aflac trivia question tonight as Franco strolls to the plate.
Aflac!
Nicely said. The only 2 major league shortstops to play every game this season. Well, if one of your guesses is Jose Reyes, then you haven't been with us all night, because Reyes did not start tonight, nor did he last night because of the sore wrist. So you got to think of 2 others. Not bothering Jose all that much.
I think I have one of the 2. I have to try to figure out and get the other one.
We'll provide the answer for you a little bit later on. Mets trying to extend a 1-run lead now. Franco certainly extended himself, coming around to score from first in the 1st inning, didn't he? Gave Manny Acta, who's mic'd up for us tonight as part of SNY Wired, quite a chuckle. They'll be joking about that a lot more if the Mets win this game than if they don't. 2-0. This kind of thing we'll be hearing quite a bit later on.
That's right.
Valentine's had a good night too. He was the guy who brought Franco around. Mets now with 13 hits in this game. Nobody out in the 7th inning. And that's popped a ways up. Garcia-Parra took his eye off it for a moment and is bailed out by the second baseman Martinez. It was Ramon's ball anyway. So 1 away, and Valentine coming up.
For the Mets, number 18, Jose Valentine.
Valentine 2 for 3. That RBI double in the 1st inning. So Valentine batting for the 2nd time from the left side after batting right-handed against Odalis Perez. Wright with a stolen base tonight, being watched carefully at first by So. Not running. And it's ball 1. Most hits the Mets have had in a game so far this year, 17. If you look at the Dodgers at double play depth on the infield, they have 13 now with 1 out in the 7th. Right back. Jay So has struck out 3. Lastings Milledge, 1 of them, waits on deck. Let's see whether Willie is of a mind to put Wright in motion. He is. The hit and run, and it's hit to the shortstop side, but they'll only get 1 at first as Furcal throws out Valentine. So the hit and run kept him out of the double play. And with 2 out, it'll bring up Lastings Milledge. Now the most advanced traffic information is just a click away with WB11.com's CommuterCast. Get real-time traffic updates on your computer every weekday afternoon at 4. Log on to WB11.com for CommuterCast. Well, with 2 out, little intramural squabble in the stands. The guy in the middle has got to win. Daddy, I want a Dodger dog. Milledge fouls 1 off, 0-1. Popcorn just not going to do it. He wants a Dodger dog. And John Reynolds, our award-winning stage manager, has been kind enough, hopefully to go into the press room and not into his pocket, to get these Dodger dogs. You can probably smell them all the way from New York. And Milledge drives 1 to deep left center field. That ball is gone. Home run. Lastings Milledge with his 2nd major league home run. And the Mets open up a 9-6 lead. So Milledge, who tripled in a run in the 1st, has a long 2-run homer here in the 7th.
Oh, let's see the back. Right, swing it.
And Grady Little, with the Mets celebrating in the dugout, is out to the home plate umpire to make a double switch. And the reason Grady Little is changing pitchers is the last ball thrown by Jay So, which is launched by Lastings Milledge. The 2nd big league homer. Mets with a 9-6 lead, and that will be the exit point for Jay So. New pitcher for the Dodgers is the left-hander Hong-Ching Kuo, who makes his 13th appearance of the year. Mets saw Kuo's work on Monday night, and he was extremely impressive. And after all, when they're hitting a .176 against you down at the bottom of that graphic, you could understand why. Aflac. Well, Ron, you had a handle, you thought, on the Aflac trivia question.
Well,
what do you got?
I thought one of them was going to be Michael Young, because he seems to play every single day down there in that heat of Texas, but I could not come up with the other one. David Eckstein, I thought it was going to be, but no, Felipe Lopez.
Felipe Lopez of the Reds, who are becoming a bigger and bigger story in the National League as this season moves on. Everybody supposedly loves Raymond. How'd they get him off the golf course?
Well, Ray Romano loves the Mets, season ticket holder. And he and I had a meeting 20 years ago.
You know him that long?
No, I don't know him at all, but I met him 20 years ago. I'll tell you the story here in a second.
1-0 to Chavez.
Before the first game of the World Series in 1986, my parents, my brothers were all coming to stay at my apartment, did not have enough space. I ordered futons, as you do in New York when you have a small apartment. Well, this company delivers the futons, and the guys bring the futons in, and I give them a tip, and it's great. Everyone sleeps. 2000, the Subway Series, all the celebrities wrote their thing about their best team. Ray Romano loved the Mets, so he wrote his experience with the Mets. He was the guy that delivered the futon that day. And luckily, I gave him a good tip because he gave me some good props in the story. But I had never known about that story until the year 2000.
Well, in the sitcom Everybody Loves Raymond, when they do a flashback episode to how he met his wife, Deborah, played by Patricia Heaton, that's what he was, a futon delivery guy. Method acting. And that was a great show. 3-1. He did one whole episode about the '69 Mets. I thought he was pretty good singing Meet the Mets, but Brad Garrett, who played his brother, a little off-key.
He was a little off-key. Didn't they call their dog, maybe? Was the dog called Shamsky?
Shamsky,
yeah.
Right. Yep.
From Art Shamsky, of course.
Chavez checks his swing, drills one to the Dodger dugout.
Art Shamsky, of course, who I was lucky enough to become friends with while I was playing in the 80s, and just a prince of a man.
Art Shamsky's been involved as a broadcaster in New York for a long time. Very early on in WFAN's existence, Art was a talk show host and a terrific guy, too. And Chavez down on strikes. So Quo strikes out Endy Chavez, but not before Lastings Milledge delivers his second big league home run, and he will not get to know the Dodger fans very closely when he heads out to left field. The Mets make their annual trip to Arizona to face the Diamondbacks beginning tomorrow night. North Fork Bank pregame live begins at 9 p.m. That's Mets D-backs tomorrow only on Sportsnet New York, where we understand the temperature will only be about 106 degrees.
Oh, nice. Nice and cool there at this time of year.
And it gets a little warmer as the weekend progresses, too. Well, Aaron Heilman comes on to relieve as we go to the bottom of the 7th inning, with the Mets having extended their lead to 9-6. And the good news now for Willie Randolph is that he's got the pitching set up just the way he wants it, because Heilman is well rested, as is DeJuan Sanchez, as is Billy Wagner. Last time we saw all three of those was on Sunday. So the first pitch hit on the ground through the middle, base hit for Willie Ibar. Ibar took over at third base as part of the double switch when Quo entered the ball game, and the first pitch by Aaron Heilman is delivered into center field. And this is one of those games where if you've been watching it from the beginning, you know not to even think about going to sleep, even though it's only 12:23.
Well, you know, when you talk about Aaron Heilman, he is well rested, but since he threw those 3 perfect innings against the Yankees on May 19th, he has given up 18 earned runs in his last 11 1/3 innings. So he has been struggling. He's given up some cheap hits also, but not pitching the way he can.
That's the roughest patch that he's had since he's been moved to the bullpen. And of course, the question becomes, how far can the Mets push this bullpen when you look at the big picture of the 162 game schedule? We're just a little more than a third of the way through the season here. Fastball missed inside, 1-1.
Well, I think if you're in the bullpen, Howie, you better get used to it, because there's no one in the Mets starting rotation, including their 2 aces, Pedro and Tommy Glavine, that are going to pitch complete games at any, you know, or even into the 8th inning all the time.
And that's off the outside corner, 2-1. Well, you know, Glavine did not get through 6 innings tonight, and that's big news, because Glavine had done it 27 consecutive times dating back to last year.
Thanks, Tommy, for not taking my place.
87 and 88. You might have had a couple more in 87 too if you didn't rip your thumb up at the end of the year. 2-2. You look at the very top of that list and you saw how many times Tom Seaver did it in a row. 45 consecutive times. That's a tribute to the greatness of Tom Seaver, and of course the difference in the way the game is played today as well. They weren't going to the bullpen in the 7th inning routinely back then.
Well, we've had a long discussion, Tom and I, about pitch counts and all those things. We're both against a real strict pitch count, but in those days I don't know, there wasn't any pitch count. You know, I'd throw 150, 160 if I had to. Just depended on how you threw them, what kind of innings you had. Were you laboring? If you're laboring, then take you out. But sometimes he said at 125 I would start getting it going.
Well, here's Furcal, payoff pitch, and pop foul.
You know, you talk about Tom Seaver and, you know, thinking about a pitch count and all that stuff. think he was nice enough in 1983 to invite me to his house. I went over there and I saw this big drawer, and he pulled one drawer out and had a couple of baseballs in it. And I said, wow, that's pretty amazing. You put your baseballs that you like in his top drawer. He said, oh no, all the drawers have baseballs in it. It's just my shutouts that I've had during my career. I was like, oh my God, what a mockery. I mean, an entire chest full drawer of baseballs.
He kept every one of his shutouts.
Every one of his shutout baseballs. It was just so impressive, and it was just great to not only to be invited to his house, but to see that and the memorabilia that he had. But you know, pitch counts are just so gotten out of control, haven't they? It's just guys are on pitch counts. There's a thing in minor leagues now that they're on a pitch count within an inning. So, so let's say that they have a tough inning and they give up 30. As Furcal goes to center field, Beltran, though, is going to run it down. What a game by Furcal tonight, making another bid for his 3rd home run. But they have pitch counts within an inning, Howie, where if a guy is struggling, and Pelfrey just had one of these happen to him.
I think it was 39.
Yeah, it's 39. So if he's struggling within an inning, and it's 39 or 40, that's another way they take him out. They will not let them throw unlimited pitches within an inning, even if they're way under the 100 pitch or 110 pitch limit.
And now they have all kinds of information, and Rick Peterson subscribes to this as passionately as anyone. Of course, Fernando, he'd throw 200 pitches in a game. Fernando Valenzuela, great former Dodger pitcher, now a broadcaster on their Spanish language network. So here's Lofton with 1 out, and the count 1 ball and no strikes. But you know, Rick works with Dr. James Andrews down in Birmingham, Alabama, who has a lab there where they have all kinds of apparatus that indicates, from a biofeedback standpoint, how you recover after an outing. There's double play ball. Valentine, Woodward, Franco, double play, and the Mets, for the 3rd time in this game, get out of an inning on a ground ball double play. 7 in the books at Dodger Stadium. 9-6 New York. Well, we mentioned Fernando Valenzuela is now a broadcaster for the Dodgers, but 7th inning is over, and in a universal language, English, Spanish, or whatever else, Fernando is pulling a Rizzuto. It's the 7th inning, and he's out of here.
Well, unlike his pitching career when he completed all those games, 7th inning and gone for Fernando.
Holy cow! I got to get on the 405. There's a lot of traffic out there. See ya. Can you believe that? Kaz Matsui will bat for Bradford. And that next car you see, those taillights will be Fernando. There he is. Oh, boy. Oh, it's good to be the king, huh? And Scully doesn't do that. Scully's still working. 1-1 to Kaz Matsui. That batting average now barely off the interstate. You won't find Vin on the interstate. He's got 9 innings in him. A great piece he did with Chris Cotter before the game tonight.
Boy, that was fun to listen to.
2-1. You could just give Vin your shopping list.
Yeah.
Just tell him what you need at the grocery store and have him read it back to you, and it sounds lyrical and poetic. So Matsui batting for Heilman here. And Willie's got the bullpen the way he wants it for this game. Even though Heilman gave up that base hit to Ibar leading off. No further damage. Now it's 3-1 to Matsui. Matsui, Woodward, and Loduca. There's Sanchez. And you know this appearance will mean a lot to him. Coming in against his former team, assuming he gets into the game at the bottom of the 8th inning. Ibar, long throw, got it there. And it has been a real struggle for Kaz Matsui. Quite the understatement, of course.
Chris Woodward.
Now 4 for 43. So here's Chris Woodward. And the kid from Glavine has had a good night. 2 hits. And he's been involved defensively in a couple of double plays. The Mets have turned 3 in this game. One and 0 to Woody. It's about hit the Dodgers 14-8. 17 the most they've had in a game this year. Fastball by Quo, and the count evens up to Woodward.
Boy, Quo has a very good arm, doesn't he? He kind of short arms it up there, so he hides it behind his body. Very hard to pick up.
Quo from Taiwan. He'll turn 25 next month. Mets saw him in spring training. There was a game that Lastings Milledge won with a base hit to left against him. And Woodward can't hold up on the high heat. Second strikeout for Quo, 2 away. Well, we mentioned, Ron, the Mets are headed to Phoenix, and even though they've got 4 games there, that's not where the road trip ends as you look at the Jeep upcoming schedule. 3 in Philadelphia next week, and those are looming as pretty big games, such as they are at this stage of the season. A little more than a third of the way in, but the Phillies, they won tonight. They started play tonight 3.5 behind the Mets, second in the National League East. Duca gets jammed and pops it up.
Well, after all the rain that the Mets have had to endure anyways, it's pretty good that the team is on the West Coast considering the weather that's on the East Coast right now.
Yeah, Yankees and Red Sox were rained out tonight. So far, it's a night off for Delgado. You know, he knows it's just a day. No big deal. To the shortstop Furcal. Loduca retired. Quo retires 4 in a row. The Mets go in order. Middle of the 8th inning at Dodger Stadium. Still 9-6 New York. Mets with a 3-run lead going to the bottom half of the 8th inning. And who said Delgado had a night off? It wasn't his idea to put that catcher's mitt on, but Loduca made the last out of the inning. And of course, Delgado came through the Blue Jays system as a catcher, but he gladly is done with that position. Talking to him, he wants no part of it ever again. So, Dewiner Sanchez in an outing that he has anticipated since last winter when he was traded by the Dodgers to the New York Mets in the deal that brought Jay So, who pitched effectively for a while tonight until giving up the home run to Milledge out here to LA. And he's got the heart of the Dodgers batting order here in the 8th inning. And the slider fouled away.
Sanchez struggled in his last outing against the Giants, blowing his first save of the year, but you can see those good numbers. 29th game tonight for Sanchez already.
And now something's gotten loose out in left field. That's sick.
Yeah.
20 for 30 late in the game and over 500 for the year. But it's 0-2 now.
I'll tell you, the first time you pitch against your former team, that adrenaline is running high as Danny Baez in the bullpen for the Dodgers.
Baez may become an even more important part of this ball club soon as Garcia Parra rips an 0-2 pitch. He'll take a big turn, head to second. Milledge's throw out at second base. Lastings Milledge guns down Nomar Garcia Parra, and that is a bit of a chin scratcher with the Dodgers down by 3 runs in the 8th inning, but it took a perfect throw to get Nomar, and Milledge made it.
Change up in the strike zone from Sanchez. Milledge does a great job of getting behind it. See how he gets behind it so he has the momentum to throw that ball to second, and just the one-hop seed gets Garcia Parra, and I bet you Sanchez will like that. Yes. Just a great mechanics getting behind that ball, so he's got all of his momentum going towards second, makes that throw, and fine tag by Valentin.
He showed a little snow on that ball too, didn't he? So Nomar with his team down 3 took the chance. It had to be a perfect play to get him, and it was. Way inside to Kemp. It's 2-0.
But it's still a bad baseball play. When you're down 3 runs, you have to be safe.
Ball 3. So Sanchez behind 3-0. Chris Cotter.
Hey guys, a little irony after that play. You know, talking to Willie Randolph before the game today, he said he swapped Endy Chavez and Lastings Milledge. Endy going to right field, Lastings going to left, because he thought that Endy had a little bit of a stronger arm and that he wanted to give Lastings some reps in left. Well, it looks like Lastings, now, you remember he pegged in the Giants series, pegged someone out at third base, and now he gets the peg at second today.
Yeah, Milledge did that from right field last week. That was when he threw out Chris Counsell, who was trying to go to second base on a hit.
Just beautiful. You see that big crow hop, that jump in the air, and just that perfect throw.
To the hole. And Woodward, natural shortstop, just does get it there to get Kemp. It's far less of an adjustment for Woodward when he plays shortstop, even though he doesn't play it much here, because that's where he grew up playing. So J.D. Drew with 1 out will bat for the pitcher Quo. Actually, that game at Shea Stadium against the Diamondbacks, Chad Tracy hit a 1-out single with Counsell trying to go first to third, and Milledge made a perfect throw to David Wright and got Counsell at third base. Now he's made a terrific throw from left field. So here's Drew. One ball, one strike. Hey, fans, in 2006, Hyundai, the Mets, and Sportsnet New York are teaming up to strike out cancer. For every K the Mets pitching staff registers, Hyundai, the Mets, and Sportsnet New York will donate $25 to the Hope and Heroes Children's Cancer Fund. 2-1 here to Drew. Grady Little, I'm sure, is still churning inside over Garciaparra being thrown out with his team down 3. Now it's 2 out, nobody on.
Sanchez, to me, looks like, as he's gone through some of these bad stretches, that he's power pitching, kind of throwing more than pitching. Early in the season, he looked under control. He wasn't jumping at the batter, hitting his spots. Now it seems like he's really firing off that back leg, kind of jumping at the hitter, which will ruin some of that control.
And Sanchez with a 2-out walk. He's been very fortunate in this inning. Remember, Garciaparra hit an 0-2 pitch, too. And ran himself into an out. And after Kemp grounds out, Drew draws the walk. And now another lefty-righty move is Andre Ethier will be the pinch hitter for Jose Cruz Jr. So Ethier, a .294 hitter. We've talked about the injuries the Dodgers have had at various positions. They have one other new area of concern, which is really a new old area, Ron, because Eric Gagne picked up his first save last night, made his first appearance last week, missed a big chunk of last year and the first part of this year with 2 elbow surgeries. Well, he was uncomfortable last night and had to have an MRI today.
You could see after the game that he was shaking his head, shaking his shoulder and arm a little bit, and just did not feel comfortable on the mound, and his velocity was way down.
1-1 to Ethier.
After having so much success, Gagne has just been a nightmare for the last 3 years for him.
And that's driven towards the gap in right center. Beltran got to it just before the wall. Drew coming around third. Franco cuts it off as the run scores. And in at second with a double is Andre Ethier. 9-7 New York.
Well, changeup away again, up in the strike zone, just like the changeup to Garciaparra. Nice try by Beltran. You'll see tries to cut this ball off as J.D. Drew, even though he's had the operations on his knees, still runs very well. Able to score pretty easily on that double.
And now the veteran Olmedo Signs will bat for Ramon Martinez. Signs, a solid pinch hitter, will try and get Ethier in from second, with the Mets now leading by 2. Signs is the tying run, of course, at home plate. So the inning's been a big struggle for Duaner Sanchez. And he misses high, 1-0. Sanchez struggled on Sunday against the Giants. And you see what Signs has done as a pinch hitter this year. That's been his biggest value to this ball club. He's only had 92 at-bats overall, and Billy Wagner up and perhaps ready. Back upstairs, 1-1. Signs, the former Oakland A. His teams have combined for 16 hits and 24 hits and 16 runs. And some noisy neighbors. The 1-1. Well, Sanchez missing badly again.
His problem is just he has not been able to spot his fastball. He's got so many weapons when he gets ahead of you, but he's got to do that with his fastball. That has been out of the strike zone so far tonight.
Ethier leading from second. The outfield playing straight away against Signs. Ball 3. And Sanchez trying to figure it out under some duress here in the 8th inning. Sanchez taking a lot of time here. Now he's ready. The 3-1 pitch. So the count full.
3-1 change up there by Wagner Sanchez. You see Billy Wagner going over the hitters with Guy Conti, trying to figure out the lineup where he's going to fit if he's coming into this game.
Well, that stretching probably means Billy's just starting to get ready. Well, Willie Randolph not of a mind to have Wagner ready to go here in the 8th inning. Got him. Well, Sanchez fights through the difficulty with a lot of help from his left fielder. The Dodgers get one, but it might have been worse. Milledge fires to second to get Nomar Garcia-Parra trying to stretch, and the Dodgers settle for one as we go to the 9th. Really like it.
Matt Yoloff here with a Chevrolet Baseball Night in New York update. A day after his house was raided by federal investigators looking for human growth hormones, Jason Grimsley requested and was granted his release by the Diamondbacks. According to court documents, he admitted to using HGH. Much more on this federal probe on Sports New York following the game. In Houston, Chris Sampson making his first major league start. Pitches a gem against the Chicago Cubs. 7 scoreless in a 1-0 win. Houston beats Chicago. Back to Howie and Ron.
Changes all over the place. That's Andre Ethier. He stays on in left field. We'll pick all the other changes up as we move along here, as the new pitcher Danis Baez throws outside to Carlos Beltran. Now, Olmedo Signs stays in the game at third base. 1-0 from Baez. Fastball outside. Baez making his 28th appearance of the year. He was the closer. You see those 9 saves in the absence of Gagne. Beltran fouls it back. Or maybe, you know, he had the MRI today, Gagne, but the fact that Baez is working in the 9th inning here means nothing relative to the save. But, you know, maybe he's just going to have to go back into that role now.
Well, I always think that it's got to be something serious when you save a ball game and go out there and pitch and you need an MRI afterwards. It's when you haven't been pitching because you have soreness that sometimes the MRI won't reveal too much. But Billy Wagner warming up for the Mets.
We get a few more pitches because there's a beach ball delay. It used to happen all the time here, didn't it?
Here, San Diego.
And the 2-2 downstairs. So the Mets trying to build a little bit more of a cushion here against Baez. New York leading by 2. David Wright, who's had a good night, waits on deck. And Beltran called out. Baez threw it over the inside corner. Perfect spot for that 94-mile-an-hour fastball. So one away. And it'll bring up David Wright. Hey, Mets fans, always traveling and missing games? Watch Mets games live online whenever you're away from New York, exclusively from MLB.tv. Mets.com has more live games than anyone else. Mets.com, where baseball is always on. So here's Wright. 3 out of 4. And even though Beltran has a few hits, this one leaves him frustrated.
Been called out twice in a row now on a pitch, same pitch in the inside part. He thinks that inside and down, but wanted to argue, I think, a little bit with home plate umpire Rob Drake, but of course thought better of it because the Mets are a little light with Cliff Floyd not feeling well with that ankle. You don't want to get thrown out of this kind of game.
Oh. That just ate up Russ Martin. He's had a tough enough week as is.
Well, the catcher goes, I want this pitch down. You want it down? Okay. Take it down. See if he can block it.
He got it down and he got it up.
That's a couple times that he's been hitting the shoulder, by the way, in this series.
And just before the Mets got here, he was involved in a collision at home plate with Chase Utley of the Phillies. And had his bell rung. Saw a scab he's got just under his nose, which was bloodied in that collision. And the fastball right laid off. 2-2. Upstairs, full count.
Well, Wright with another 3 hits tonight. You can see why he's hitting so well, though. Those pitchers look like they're 2 or 3 inches off the corner. He takes them like it's nothing. Really seeing the ball well right now.
And the payoff pitch outside. So David Wright finds his way aboard for the 4th time in 5 plate appearances. First walk given up by Danis Baez, and it'll bring up Julio Franco.
Julio Franco.
They saw the numbers on Wright after the 7th inning, and post 7th innings with the Dodgers trailing have meant the Dodgers lose so far this year. They are 0 for 17 when they have trailed after 7. So certainly in that respect, the Mets also have them right where they want them, but that'll depend in large part on Billy Wagner, who's getting ready to pitch the 9th. Wright is running, pitch taken up high, and Martin with a perfect throw. And David Wright is out at second base. Great throw by Martin.
Well, you become more and more impressed with Martin, but he gets a good pitch to throw up in the strike zone. But that is just the seed down to second base. Wright tried to give him the fake maneuver with that right hand, and it didn't work.
Can't throw down to second base in a steal situation any better than Russell Martin just did. So now 2 out, nobody on. And 1-1 to Franco. Now, if you want to look ahead to the bottom of the 9th, the Dodgers will be scheduled to send up Martin, Ibar, and Furcal. In all likelihood against Billy Wagner. Here's the 1-1. Fastball was up. Franco got a piece. Guy Conti working on Billy Wagner there. You certainly don't need to help get his adrenaline going. As you look at our AOL game summary, a lot of scoring early and another big night for Milledge And that's before you talk about the throw he made. Got him. So Franco down on strikes. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Baez. And now it's up to Billy to seal the deal. Middle of the ninth, 9-7 New York. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. Visit geico.com. And Jeep, the all-new 7-passenger Jeep Commander. And Billy Wagner gets started by throwing a heater over the inside corner for strike 1 to Russell Martin. So Wagner now trying to nail it down. Right to David Wright at third. 1 away. 2 pitches, 1 out here in the ninth.
Now batting, second
and that'll bring up Willie Ibar.
Willie Ibar.
Well, Wagner looking for his 12th save of the year. Wagner comes in 8th in the National League in saves with this appearance. He's the 5th pitcher used by Willie Randolph. And the fastball low inside. Well, Billy was all amped up the other night after warming up, anticipating that he would pitch the 9th inning. Didn't get in as Willie stayed with Bradford. 1 ball and 1 strike. And you know, for Billy, it's just a matter of getting all that adrenaline and having nothing to do with it, or nowhere to put it. And so he needed a little time to unwind after the game. He and Willie talked it out. Softly hit. And Valentine throws out Ibar. The Dodgers are down to their last out. So Furcal, the last hope for the Dodgers.
Rafael Furcal.
Post-game reaction and analysis. Tom Glavine going to become a winning pitcher tonight, or at least he was at the start of the game. John Smoltz pitching for the Braves, and Davey Johnson, the manager of the '86 World Champions, now in the Washington Nationals front office. Congratulations to Davey. One and one to Furcal, who's had the big bat for the Dodgers with 2 homers and 4 RBIs. Glavine cannot qualify for this win. And this ought to do it. Wagner waits on the hop and put it in the books. Easy 9th inning for Billy Wagner. And the Mets get this road trip off to a good start. And Lastings Milledge had a whole lot to do with it. 1 great throw from left field. His 2nd home run and a triple. A seamless save for Billy Wagner, who gets 3 ground ball outs in a hurry. And the Mets win it 9-7 to take the series 2 games to 1.
So we talked about it before the game, didn't we, Howie? Series, series, series. That's what matters for the Mets this season. And what a great job they did tonight. And what a great job for Milledge.
Stand corrected there. That was Glavine's game to win, as the Mets had gained control of the lead before Glavine had come out of the game. Now, our next telecast will be tomorrow night with the Mets in Arizona to face the Diamondbacks in the opener of a 4-game series. And stay tuned for Sports New York, which is coming up right after the game tonight. So Tom Glavine on short rest, wins number 284 lifetime as the Mets got to Odalis Perez early. But the Dodgers would come right back. 2 home runs for Furcal, but Milledge, one of the big stars for the Mets. And so for Ron Darling, Chris Cotter, and our entire SNY crew, I'm Howie Rose wishing you a pleasant good night from Dodger Stadium in LA. Now let's join Matt Yellow.